guys, welcome to Full Out Flying Solo. We're going to start, like we always start these now, with a full out comment of the week that somebody left me on one of my stand-up clips. And Molly pulls them for me because I never look at them before because I can't, I'm trying to protect my mental health. Some of them are funny though, and I miss the funny ones, so we'll see. But she tells me what the clips are from. This is from a stand-up clip I have about body part Christians, like my family's body part Christians, like my family, you know, any like crucifix necklace tucked between like cleavage. I had like a blinked out dangling cross hanging from a belly button ring I got when I was 11 years old, because I feel like we're from Texas. In Texas, they believe like the right to pierce anything starts at conception as long as it has a cross dangling from it. And my cousin has like a tramp stamp of a Bible verse. Okay, so this is the comment. I haven't read it yet. It's from Van Garen, who's a guy. Also, she puts them huge on her computer for me like this. Because this is a guy, his image is a guy of him dressed as a shark with his arm resting on a pumpkin he carved out. He said, see, if I was her, I'd have a Lord of the Rings quotation instead. Speak, friend, and enter. That is very funny. I like you, Van Garen. That is very funny. I've never really seen Lord of the Rings, but I can get the vibe. I did see the first Lord of the Rings on a date with a guy when I was like a sophomore in high school, and we left in the middle of it. I don't know why. Like, he thought it was bad or I thought it was bad, and we left in the middle. And it's not like, and this guy like never even kissed me. And then so it's not like we left to like go make out as like a high schooler. So I was like, why did we leave this movie? So then I just had in my mind that they were bad ever since then. But I think it's just because of that guy. And then haven't gotten around to watching them, but I do, or reading them, but I do. Now I want to watch it because of this quote, speak, friend, and enter. That is so funny. I feel like that's a great Bible verse or that's a great tramp stamp one, because at least the guy will talk to you first, right? That's all a woman wants, right? Just like a little conversation is all we need. That is so funny. Thank you for that comment, Van Garen. All right, guys, I can't stop talking. So my full out thing right now is I can't stop talking about the Bachelorette getting canceled and Taylor, Frankie, Paul. And I feel like I'm not a huge reality TV fan, but I used to watch The Bachelor religiously, and then I stopped. Like, Marco and I actually watched it religiously for the first year of our relationship. I feel like our 1 year anniversary was like the finale episode of The Bachelor that year. And actually, this might get me canceled if we're still doing that. But the Bachelor at that time was this Latino guy, and he called everybody his lober because he had like an accent. So he would always be like, oh, she's my lover, I love her, she's my lover. And so Marco and I I hate pet names. They like cringe me out. I don't want anybody to call me baby or honey or babe. I'm just always like, ugh, I've always hated it. My sister hates it too, so I don't know what it says about us, because it seems condescending to me, or like somebody's like, I don't know, I just find it gross. But Marco and I started calling each other lober. And we've called each other that ever since, but now it kind of sounds like lover now with a V, but we do call it is really like lober, but and Penelope sometimes will be like, she even knows you do it, so she'll be like, hey, lover. And she's trying to do it. She's like, why do you guys call each other that? And we're like, we don't really know if it's appropriate anymore why we call each other that, but it used to be okay 12 years ago when we met each other. But anyways, it was something I watched a lot, and then I just like really fell off. But I do watch The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and which is the hardest name for me to say. But I've always felt this chick was like a little off, you know? And I feel for her because I think she's like, I mean, I personally think she has some like mental illness stuff going on. But I watched that video of her throwing stools at her boyfriend, and I was like, and she hit her child with one of the stools. And nobody went to the child. And the kid was like 3 to 5 years old or something. I just was like, I can't believe, like, I can't believe they canceled The Bachelorette, because I know each episode is like $2 million and they've shot it already. And these guys who like went on The Bachelorette to like,
ABC is losing $100 million.
ABC is losing $100 million. That is crazy. And also so many people are losing their jobs because there's like people who are like, post is their job. And I heard there was only one episode that was fully edited in the can, and yet there's 2 more that were like close, and then the rest of them like still had to be edited, but the whole post situation. So that's like, there's no jobs in this town anymore anyways, and now all these people are losing their jobs because it's getting canceled. And I'm like, of course I get why it's getting canceled, you know. I don't think she ever should have been chosen to be the Bachelorette to begin with, but I think Nick Viall, whatever, and his wife were like, she should be it. Which, that guy, who the fuck is that guy? I mean, like, he's a reality TV star who somehow thinks he's like the voice of reason in every situation and speaks for all women and everybody. And I'm like, you sound like the biggest like misogynist to me. He sounds like he's like somebody who, like, I feel like he's somebody I would have dated in my like early 20s and then realized like, oh, this guy is full of shit because he thinks he knows everything, and he just acts like he knows everything, and he acts like he's the one that like makes the decision about everything. Like, he's right. He's not even saying like, this is my opinion and like everybody has their own opinion. He's like, my opinion is right because I'm Nick Viall and I've done a lot of reality TV. And I'm like, oh my God, why are we listening to this guy? But he said she should be the Bachelorette, and I don't know, I just feel like I feel so bad for her kids. I feel for her, obviously, because I do feel like she needs to do a lot of work on herself. But I just am like, wow, there's kids involved, and this situation feels like it just, I don't know, when you're picking a contestant like that and you just overlook all these red flags about them, and then there's also kids involved in this. And like, clearly people knew that she got in this fight in front of her daughter, because it was like the whole pilot episode of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Anyways, I just feel so bad for her kids. And I mean, I saw her go and do her whole like, you know, she went and did her whole like press tour of like apologizing, and she just looked like so. And there was a glitch on Live with Kelly and Mark in the editing, and it's like they just like cut out a clip of a live show. Like, I don't know what's happening. Like, you could tell it was like cut, and like it's supposed to be live. You can't do like a bad cut like that and have it like glitch. They clearly were like, she's not allowed to say that, so they cut something out. Anyways, is this show gonna survive? I don't know. I feel like what is my vote as to whether it's gonna survive? I feel like I don't think it should survive. I feel like it's such a unrealistic like show now to us. I feel like now there's like Love is Blind and all these other shows that feel more like they're still unrealistic, but it feels like a little more real. I feel like in The Bachelor, I never have heard anybody be like, this is my job. this is what I do. I feel like when I stopped watching, at least, nobody was talking about what their lives were like outside of paradise, you know? And I was like, wait, but like, who is this person? What do they do? How are they with their family? Do they make money? Do they not make money? Do they like, I don't know. It's just like, what do they do when they get home? So I don't know. I think it's a weird way to, I know there are a few people who like have become couples out of that, but I just think it's weird. And when it's a bunch of girls vying for one guy, I started to feel like those ones felt creepier to me for some reason than the other way around. It's just like a bunch of women. I don't know. There's something creepy about it where it's like everybody's like pitching themselves, and I don't know. I think we would be fine if it just ended with Taylor, Frankie, Paul, and we were like all like, okay, that was a thing that we all used to watch, and she blew it up, and maybe it needed to be blown up because we're over it. The Golden Bachelor and Bachelorette was a little more genuine until we found out that guy was actually an asshole that we all fell in love with. And then I was like, oh yeah, old men are assholes. I'm like, why are we watching a bunch of old men? Who gets better with age as a man who's like, I feel like everybody's issues are like so engraved into their psyche by that point that it's like, you're not gonna, no, like it's hard to come together at that age with somebody. I think the best thing for people in that age to do is go on Facebook, find somebody from their high school that they had a crush on, that they like kind of knew, who's also divorced or widowed, and ask them to go on a weekend trip with you, and maybe you'll rekindle something and fall in love. I think that would be a show that I would watch. I'm pitching that show actually right now to everybody out here. It's like, nobody can take that. Facebook high school reunion, thrown together. That's how my aunt, my favorite aunt, she and her husband now were engaged in college, and then they broke up, and then they both went on and they had their own lives. And my aunt was married to my uncle, and he sadly passed away when my cousins were in high school, and it was like really tragic and sad. And then she like years later, her and my uncle, they found each other on Facebook, and they met up, and they like rekindled this thing, and they got married. And it's so cool because her husband now, I didn't know this, but he was like childhood best friends with my uncle, my aunt's brother. So my whole family knows him since, like, he's known my dad since my dad was like 5 or something. Like, they have like stories about him being like around, and he was like one of them, and now he's like still around. So it's kind of fun. I think it's so cool, and like they're so sweet, and I just love them, and I'm so happy for both of them that they found somebody else later, you know. I also watched that show. I watched one episode of Age of Innocence. It's this new dating show on Netflix where it's like age doesn't matter and nobody says their age, and I'm like, what are we doing? The Epstein files just came out. I'm like, are we really gonna do that right now? I don't know who signed off on that show. Wait, is Nick Viall hosting? I think Nick Viall is hosting that show, actually, now that I think about it. I think that's his show that he's hosting. That's who signed off on it. That's the guy that people are listening to for advice. Somebody who's like, we should like all host a show called Age of Innocence where we don't know whose age is what. He has an 18-year age difference with his wife. How old is she? Is she like,
27, 45.
27 and 45, wow. Okay. My dad's biggest age gap with one of his wives was 8 years, and I thought that was a lot, but that was when he was younger. But I just feel like there's a woman on the show, the one episode I watched, and I really like her because I saw her first on TikTok because I got obsessed with Carolyn Bessette in the JFK love story, and I went down a rabbit hole and found out that they actually might have been terrible people. So I don't know if I was listening to like a conspiracy theorist person or not, but like I was like very into them from like the Ryan Murphy show. And then I was like, were they just toxic people? And probably, but those are the best people, right? So Taylor, Frankie, Paul, who knows? You might have a show like Love Story made about you years later because it seems like that's what happens for people. But anyways, this woman on Age of Innocence was doing TikTok videos, and I didn't even know what Age of Innocence was, but she was doing TikTok videos because she used to work at Calvin Klein with Carolyn Bessette. And she's like on there being like, yeah. And then she said something about like, I know I'm on Age of Innocence and this, and I was like, what? And then she would like see Carolyn at work, and now she's on Age of Innocence, and I think she's like 56 or something. And this guy that she just like made out with in episode 1, it's not a spoiler, in a relationship with, is 22 or 23, and she has a son who's 27. He's younger than her kids, and she's like, it's okay, like, I don't know, do I feel, I'm like, why are you making this lady do this? This is so bad for her reputation. She used to work at Calvin Klein. Like, she's cool. She could be having a heyday of like, look at this cool woman who used to know Carolyn Bessette, but now we're just like, oh, she's made out with a 22-year-old. I don't know. I can't really. It's in cheerleading, there were a lot of older guys who were dating younger girls. It's like a thing. And there's somebody that I know is, gosh, I feel like hopefully this person doesn't listen to the podcast. But anyways, somebody that my sister dated, there was, I feel like I'm like really cozy at home now and we're just sharing all the gossip and secrets. I'm like, should I be doing this? I don't know. If you listen to this part, you'll know, but somebody that my sister dated in college and high school was her boyfriend. When we were in college and high school, there was this girl that would come to our high school competitive cheerleading gym, and she was like a phenom. She was like the best. She was 5. She was a 5-year-old cheerleader. She could do like a double full, like she could do like all the tumbling things that like are incredibly challenging. And so we've known this girl when she was 5. And my sister's ex-boyfriend from college was her coach when she was 5. Now they're married and they have a kid together. I think they got married when she was 21, but he's known her since she was 5. When we were cheering, like we were around a bunch of older guys because people never graduate. And like, I mean, I even remember I went to Texas Tech to try out at Texas Tech for cheerleading, which I didn't make Texas Tech, which was insane. There was like a gasp in the audience when I didn't make it because I also was not a football cheerleader. I was like a competitive cheerleader, and there's 2 styles of cheerleading, and they're UCA and I'm NCA. But if I would have made Texas Tech, I think I would be like a Fox News reporter right now instead of doing what I'm doing. So thank God I didn't make Texas Tech. But when I went to tryouts, like first my coach took me on a trip there to like try to meet everybody, and my coach was in Chicago. This is the coach who's in jail now. And he like tried to hold my hand in the car on the like recruitment trip, and he was 27, 28. I was still like 16 or 17. And then I was like, this is so weird. And then we were like staying at his friend's house who was on the team on Texas Tech, this girl, and we were sleeping in the living room. And I was like 17, so who cares? He's 27 though, like that's weird. And I remember he like went to put his arm around me at one point, and I was freaked out, and I went in his friend's room and I told her, and she like locked the door, and we slept in her room with the door locked, and she's like, you're not seeing him the rest of the weekend, like I'm gonna keep you like super far away from him. And like I didn't see him the rest of the weekend. Yeah. And then a few years later after I left, he went to jail for sleeping with underage girls. And I'm like, no shit. Like, it's just like there's stuff like that all over, you know, because they always want really little, like, small girls on teams with older people. So even when I was in like 7th grade, I was on a team with seniors in high school, and I was getting like influenced by, that's why I got my belly button pierced in 7th grade, because I was on a team with high school seniors who all had their belly buttons pierced, and I was like, I need to be just like them, and I need to like go out with them and hang out with them and like hang out with all these guys that are on the team too. So it's just like a weird world. It's just like gymnastics and everything. It's all kind of weird. Anyways, age gaps. I don't know. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. The Bachelor, the Bachelorette, I don't know what's gonna happen with it, but I think we would all be fine if it just like morphed into something else or just stopped, right? I'm curious to see like how it's gonna go. I think they'll probably fill the space with like, you know, the fallout of it. I hope that we get to see like interviews of the guys who were on it, or like I hope that they like do something behind the scenes, like drama of it. I feel like that's all anybody wants anymore. So they should just like YouTube it up, you know? That's what people are gonna do on YouTube. So ABC might as well just do that, I feel like, because we just want to see interviews of the people who were on it or experienced it or were around. And I used to say I just watched The Bachelor or The Bachelor to watch the women's eyelashes deteriorate over the course of the season. Because I was like, you could always tell when it was like, I felt like they would get out of the limo on night 1 and their eyelashes would look like stunning, like awnings, you know, like gorgeous. And then week 2 is like, I feel like by the end, it's like everybody's eyelashes are like hanging on by a thread, because you're supposed to get them like redone every 3 to 4 weeks, I think. I don't know, I've never had them, but you can tell they were getting like really janky at the end. And then I feel like the last couple contestants, their spray tans are all splotchy by then. They've all been in like hot, like the first week they've all like gotten in the hot tub, and you can see they have like splotchy spray tans now, and like their hair extensions are getting like all ratty, and like their eyelash extensions are about to fall off. And then they take all the contestants, they feel like by like the very end, they feel like the Barbie dolls that got thrown under your bed, like that you forgot about, that like their clothes are mismatched and they're like missing their shoes, and they just like put like a shiny coat of paint over them and like send them out to the finale. That's what I just like to see the progression of people falling apart. But yeah, I love the behind the scenes of that stuff. So I feel like hopefully that's what we're getting. And I hope that Taylor Frankie Paul and her baby daddy Dakota get some help. And I hope that she can like, you know, really, you know, come back from this, like for herself, not for reality TV, but for herself, and like get her shit together and take care of herself for her sake and for her kids' sake. And yeah, I just feel so sad for those poor babies. All right, you guys, no one goes full out like Taylor Frankie Paul, I guess. Bye.